This is the briefing for Monday, March 31st. Very interesting day today in the stock indices. As you remember from the weekend briefing, I talked about the fact that we had been at a point of being extremely oversold. This is the NYSE and this is the NASDAQ. And you can see how oversold we were. It was pretty much at an extreme, as you can see. And that suggests the higher probability of some type of pause or counter trend rotation in the opposite direction of the trend in an effort to work off the oversold condition. And that's exactly what we got in today's trading. Now, this is an hourly chart of the spiders, the Qs, and the IWM. Now, I want to point this out, and I hope you can see this buying tail that came in on the spiders, came in on the Qs, and on the IWM also. And that basically is an exhaustion move. When you see something like that happen with high volume, it typically suggests that sellers exhausted themselves and that buyers have stepped in and have taken over control of the market. And that's exactly what happened in today's trading, as you can see. Now, it is interesting. I'm not sure what happened right at the close, but volume during the day was extremely low. You can see how it fell off in the second hour of trading. It fell off to right there. Third hour of trading, it was even lower, and then it started to recover somewhat, but we didn't get a volume spike until the last hour of trading. I should say the last 30 minutes of trading. Same thing occurred in the Qs. You can see the volume falling off through the rally today, and then we got a little bit of a volume spike in the Qs as well going into the close. So it's going to be interesting to see how that resolves itself in tomorrow's trading. Now, I want to point out something that I point out periodically, but I think it's interesting, is that counter trend rotations basically have certain characteristics, and one of them is, as I've discussed previously, is that they happen in three-step rotations, three-step counter trend rotations. And I think I went back previously and we looked at some of the three-step rotations in the indices just in the last week or so. And you can see here, this is a three-step. This is a 15-minute chart of the spiders and a 15-minute chart of the Qs. And you can see the three-step counter trend rotation. Now, there's equality between legs 3 and 1, typically, not all the time. But that comes in at the 561 area. I put this trend line up here, and you can see that the spiders came right up to a high of 560.71, where this projected equally right at 561. Let me change this to the Qs. I thought that was the Russell. I thought this was the Qs, was the Russell. And you can see the same thing here, and this projected up to the 471 area in the Qs, and the high today came in right at 469, 469.66, I think is what it says. So you can see that if this is a counter trend rotation, then we've reached equality between legs 3 and 1. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of tomorrow's trading. Now, this is a better chart to point it out, but you can see the rally that occurred today, and look at volume all through the day. Now, we did get a little bit of volume spike right here, and then we got a little bit more volume coming in, but then the most volume came in right in the last 30 minutes of trading. The same thing happened with the Qs, very low volume throughout the day. I should point out also that there was a breadth divergence. You can see right there, that was the low of the day in the spiders, and there's where breadth was. So you can see the divergence there. And I covered that in the weekend briefing, suggesting that if that occurred, it was going to be a clear sign that you're going to see some type of rotation up, confirming the oversold condition. And the same thing in the Qs. This is the low of the day, and you can see where breadth was in the Qs, or I should say in the NASDAQ as well. So it does appear that potentially we did reach an oversold condition. We did have a rotation up. That rotation appears to have the characteristics of a counter trend rotation. I'm a little concerned over what happened right at the close, 30 minutes of trading, in terms of long entries, not in terms of long entries, but in terms of volume. As you can see, the volume spike that occurred there as well. So looking back where we are now we've got important resistance. This 558 level was longer term resistance, 472 in the Qs and 202 in the IWM. So basically, we've traded above this area right here, this 558 area, which was the low of leg 2. And this is where I talked about the 3-step counter trend rotation, where there was almost equality between legs 3 and 1 in this move here. So looking at the 15-minute chart, it appears that we've completed another 3-step counter trend rotation. 52-week highs minus 52-week lows collapsing in today's trading, and then breadth improving slightly, as you can see, to work off this oversold condition. Same thing with the Qs. This 470 area is next upside resistance. That was the bottom of leg 2 right here. Projected up to 491, 492, and it came in just above that at 493.62. So it's pretty close to being equality there, and you can see the divergence in breadth as well. In the Russell, we traded down to this 195 area and then traded back up to the 197, closing right around the 199.50 area in the IWM. So tomorrow is going to be very interesting to determine whether whether this is a counter trend rotation, and we're going to see another move to the downside that would test and take out today's low. Watch what happens right around this area here, 552. If leg 2 is traded through, that's going to open up a higher probability of testing the low of today. Same thing with the Qs. If 463 is traded through, that's going to open up a higher probability of testing the low of today. And if that occurs, it's going to get the lows of today will get broken. Now, I also want to point out here that a lot of times on this indicator of overbought and oversold, I've seen it recover from an oversold or overbought condition slightly, as it has in today's trading, and then see another thrust back to the downside, where you get a greater degree time and price counter trend rotation based on a greater degree oversold condition. So we're going to be watching what happens tomorrow very, very carefully. Have a great night, and I'll pick this back up tomorrow.